Admiral.
Sick bay. Not good is a galactic understatement.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Fully Functional, a TNG podcast. I'm Maggie, joined by Jeff and Dory. We're two Star Trek experts, joined by a Star Trek novice. And today we're going to be discussing episode 16 of Star Trek The Next Generation, titled Too Short a Season. And we'll begin as always with a recap from Dory.
Okay, so we start off. There's a hostage situation on Mordan 4. The leader, Karnas, is like, I want the negotiation. Well, no, the terrorists want the negotiations to be done with somebody outside of the planet. So we want Admiral Mark Jameson, who is played by somebody who's obviously young in some really questionable makeup
Yes.
and a real questionable wig. So Mark is 85. Him and his wife, Anne, who, by the way, wears a great outfit. She wears this, like, blue dress with a really sweet hood.
A true sci-fi icon.
Mm-hmm. Oh, like, what a look.
It is a really nice outfit.
Yes.
I mean, it's fantastic. Oh, so, like, Mark keeps having these, like episodes where his body hurts and he's, like, kind of getting younger, but he's got this disease called Iverson's disease, which, I don't know, it affects his body, but not his mind. But there's, like, stuff he's, like, hiding because Dr. Crusher says that, like, his like, medical results are from 2 months ago, not 2 days ago. So she's suspicious, in which Picard then tells her she sounds like Troy. In which, welcome back, Troy. It's been a hot minute.
I totally missed that she wasn't in the last episode.
Was it supposed to be an insult?
Yeah, I don't know. She takes it as an insult for some reason.
Yeah, I was like, Troy's great. Why are you? But then Picard goes over and is like, okay, but regardless, I want you on the bridge to, keep your eye on him. But he has to do that right up next to her and like real intimately. So I'm like, get it. So Mark is, as it turns out, Benjamin Buttoning. So he's getting younger. And the makeup's not getting better.
No.
And the hair's not getting better either. It's getting real rough.
Fun fact about that, not only was the makeup department disappointed in their work in this, but so were the directors, the actors, and pretty much everyone involved. And they flat out admitted the biggest problem with this episode, we screwed the pooch on the makeup.
Yeah.
It's not...
Star Trek has a habit of, like, taking... this person is older as meaning their face is melting.
Yes. Yes, definitely. Old age makeup is rarely done well in Star Trek, and it's kind of been a theme with the show since the beginning.
Yeah, this episode is especially bad.
Yes.
Okay, so Mark also, the younger he gets, the kind of scarier he gets. And yeah, so he, like... At first, he's like, when he was getting younger, and Anne is like, what the hell's happening? And he's like, but I love you so much, and I got this from like a treaty that I did at like another planet, and I got 2 doses for us. And I was like, oh, that's actually kind of nice. And then he's like, but I took both of them. He's like,
Yeah.
oh,
I
okay.
took both of them!
Like, Mark, you're an asshole. Like, that's nice that you thought of that, but then, like, it all went to your head immediately, and you took all of the drug.
Yeah.
So, okay, Mark. He also sits in the dark so much in this episode.
Yeah.
And, okay, so he's sitting in the dark. He wants to speak to Karnas, and we learn that it's, like, revenge that, like, we learn out a little later. Basically, Mark gave, like, weapons 45 years ago to Karnas, and then gave to also, like, the enemies. And so he thought it would be, like, a little mini war, tiny war. But ended up, the war lasted for 40 years. So...
Oops.
Yeah,
Whoopsie
bad
doodle.
miscalculation, Mark. So yeah, Mark continuously gets really young, and okay, you guys though, young Mark can get it.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Young Mark can fully get it.
Yeah. He's pretty hot.
Is young Mark fully functional?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. You bet he's fully functional. I mean, hey, partway through he was trying to plow his own wife.
Yeah.
So
Trying is definitely the word for that.
Yeah. There is the caveat that he's very hot in an 80s way.
At least, yeah. I mean, he's hot in an 80s way. I think it's his hair. Like, he's got his face is good, but his hair is questionable still.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he like, they go down with like an away team. Mark is like really hot-headed. He's hot and hot-headed. And they go down to like the Mordon 4 to because Mark's like, I know exactly where they're hiding the hostages. And here's my qualm here. Mark is stupid.
Yeah.
Because because either one of sort of two scenarios. Why either Karnas is really stupid to hide the hostages in the same place, or like why would he either, and he forgot that like Mark would know exactly where it is, or it's obviously a trap.
Yeah.
So like Mark is stupid.
Yes.
Yeah, Mark is not a good leader. Thank God Picard was there to sort of like reel it in a little bit. So Mark brings him down. Of course, they're going through. Here's a now question. How many settings are there on phasers? Because I knew stun. Now I know cut through and kill.
Phasers, I believe we see something like 4 or 5 settings through of them throughout. There's different levels of stun and kill, because sometimes they'll say maximum setting or like half setting or something like that. There's wide beam, which apparently will hit everyone in the room, and I don't know why they don't use this all the time, because they only use it in very situational settings and then forget about it every other time.
Yeah, it's only if the plot needs it. Do they remember that they have a wide setting?
Yeah. Otherwise, they only use the wide setting for blowing through like an object or something. There's the heat setting, where they shoot it at a rock a bunch, and the rock is now a heater.
Yeah.
Okay, so furnace setting?
Yeah, and so these are some of the various settings of the phaser.
Interesting.
Oh yeah, there's maximum stun.
Yeah.
As opposed to just regular stun.
Well, I'm gonna assume that means like this'll knock out the average person for like 5 minutes, and then maximum stun is like for an hour or some shit.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
You program the time you want the person to be knocked out for.
Yeah. Or like, if they're like super strong or whatever and the regular stun doesn't work, put more power into it or some shit. I don't know.
You know what just popped into my head? For cut through, okay. Can this be used to like cut bread or like cut small things, or does it just fry it? Because, I mean, if you want to get like a loaf of bread and you want toast, legit. But if you just want to like cut a tag off a piece of clothing or just like, paper, would
No, because it would go through and cut whatever. Because it's not like a lightsaber where it has like an end. The beam just keeps going.
That makes sense.
Shit.
Yes.
So you have to,
you just make like a hole through the floor.
Yeah, because you'd have to use the point of the beam as opposed to the edge of it.
True. Okay, I did not think of that.
I'm sure the edge could work. I'm sure if you like had someone blasting a phaser and you like dropped a loaf of bread through it, it would cut it.
I wonder how like deep though it would go for cut through. Like how far that laser would go.
Yeah. I guess you could probably set it to like specific
like strength.
Yeah.
So it's not like, okay, it goes through the wall, but if there's somebody on the other side of the wall, are you like dead?
Yeah.
Just decapitate someone?
Because we have like laser cutters in real life, right?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Or like laser cutters, plasma cutters, that sort of thing. And basically, like once it interacts with the object you're cutting, it doesn't go like further. It just kind of stops. So I imagine it works something similar.
Okay, interesting.
You could probably have like different densities of beams too. If it's like I need to get through glass, and it's like you adjust the settings so that it's like most efficient for glass.
Oh,
that makes
sense. As opposed to like steel or some shit.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's cool. Oh yeah, so Mark tells like Picard the truth that like, the official story is not real. And he like forged shit so he didn't get in trouble. And we're brought back to the Prime Directive, or as Mark says, his interpretation of the Prime Directive, which is That's worrisome if there's like it's up to interpretation. Honestly, that's like red flaggish to me.
It's not that it's up to interpretation. It's that, well, they're actually misusing the term prior directive in this because it's supposed to be the non-interference in cultures that have not really been discovered yet.
Well, it's the prime directive's kind of twofold. It's non-interference with pre-warp civilizations and non-interference in the internal politics of other civilizations.
Okay, so Mark just ignored it. He didn't interpret. He just ignored it.
Yes.
Yeah, his interpretation, he full out ignored it.
They're also not entirely consistent. Like, sometimes they'll say, this
Yeah.
is a prime directive issue, and it's really not.
Yeah.
Okay, so they go down to the tunnels where Mark thinks the hostages are held. Obviously, it's like a trap or whatever, because then there's the Mordon soldiers in blue camo. They're like shooting. Their phasers are set to kill, as we've learned. And Picard reminded us, yes, we know because it's the sound.
Yeah.
And
I like how
Tasha,
I like how he's pissy at Data for telling him that.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
he's like, I know the sound. Like, okay, calm down.
even if Data's like, I know Picard knows this, it's like still prudent to say something.
Yeah. I do think it's kind of wild how Picard really has a inconsistent level of like patience. How sometimes he can be like, okay, and then sometimes he'll be like, he'll just like go off on someone for the tiniest thing, and it's like, oh my god,
Yeah.
calm down, buddy. Oh yeah, so by the way, Tasha is killing it at laser tag. She has impeccable aim. I want her on my team. I'm really bad at laser tag. I want her on my team. Fun fact, I actually got negatives once at laser tag.
Ooh, impressive.
Yeah. The guy working at Laser Quest told me he had never seen it before.
Is that because you killed yourself several times?
No, it's because I'm just really bad at it that I just got killed too many times. Not by me, but by other people.
Oh.
So, okay, they go back up because, like, the ambush is, like, too hard. And so, what's his face? Mark has, like, another episode. I fully thought he was going to get younger. In my notes, I'm like, is he going to turn into a baby or what?
Yeah.
Because, like, I thought he was just going to keep Benjamin buttoning. I thought he was going to be, like, a teen, then, like, a kid, and then, like, I don't know, baby would have maybe been too sad to watch him die as a baby, but yeah, it just was, like, real rough. So finally, they decide to, like, meet with Karnas. He's not convinced that, like, Mark is the real Mark until we have the second visit of the Enterprise audio and visual team, because we get to see screen caps from the episode on that little device Picard has. So I was like, it's nice to see these guys are still doing something. The editing or video, like the cameras are still working on the Enterprise. Also, Karnas just shouted so much. I was like, please somebody just blast his face off. I hate the shouting. Too much shouting. So yeah, then like Mark they call down his wife, and this poor lady did not deserve any of this bullshit.
No.
And Mark just like dies of like his body shutting down.
Dies of
or
embarrassment.
organs failing or whatever.
He dies of young age.
Yeah, he dies of
Young age.
yeah. The youth gets the best of him.
Yeah.
And then they set course for ISIS 3, which in this day and age, that didn't age well.
No, definitely not.
But
Wait, have we already been through ISIS 2?
I don't know.
ISIS 2, the sequel.
Yeah.
Electric Boogaloo. But yeah, so I guess that's the end of the recap. But this episode was kind of bugged me.
Yeah?
I mean, none of this mattered.
No, not at all.
Nothing that happened. And, like, the main cast wasn't even really involved. Why? I did not care about Mark. I mean, a little bit when he was hot. But, like, honestly, I didn't care that much. I was like, he's still being an asshole. So I was like, it's easier to watch him be terrible because he's now aesthetically pleasing. But he was still an asshole. And I, like, didn't feel bad for him. I felt bad for his wife. I felt bad for Anne. Like, she didn't deserve any of this. But yeah, none of this matters. That episode did not matter. It did not make any kind of difference in anybody's life in the crew. Like, that's it. It's done. Nothing happened. None of this episode didn't need to exist even. This didn't do anything.
It's interesting you see it that way, because I actually really like this episode.
I do as well.
I mean, I don't think it's a bad episode. I just don't think that it didn't do anything. Because, like, the whole episode is focused on somebody we've only met one, like, in this episode, right?
Yeah.
So how, like, I had no emotional connection to Mark. So, like, I did not care. So, like, of his whole backstory. Because we also find out he's still, like, he's technically the bad guy, too. So, like, if it was one of, like, the people on the team who maybe they needed some vengeance type thing. I mean, we sort of had that with the Ferengi. Did I pronounce that one right?
You did pronounce it correctly.
Yeah, episode with Picard. Yes, making progress.
Instead of Ferengi.
Yeah.
With, like, Picard, that vengeance one, and that cared because we care about Picard. But, like, I mean, on its own, like, it's not a bad episode. Like, the story makes sense and all that. I just found that I don't care about Mark.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't really either, but I just liked the story they were telling.
Okay.
I guess I'm just used to it being like us, like we're just dealing with these characters episode by episode. It's like most episodes, it's like you meet someone new and a thing happens and like you have to deal with it for that episode.
So here's the thing. This episode did have a point to it before it went through extensive problem rights. But the original idea for it was that, what do you call it? Riker was going to be placed on another ship, and the Admiral was going to replace him at the Admiral's request. And the story, instead of it being like straight up just, oh, he's, challenging the captain on his own ship or something like that, it was more of, okay, now he's taken the place of someone that we do actually give a shit about. And we want this guy to go away because clearly he's not in the right and he's messing with the captain's ship. And so that was the motivation that they originally gave you. And it's supposed to be an allegory, or was supposed to be an allegory to male menopause. And obviously that didn't work out very well. That's been totally lost.
Yeah.
Yeah, because one of the things I feel like could have improved this episode was just dumping the whole Benjamin Button thing.
Yep, that's
like,
fair.
If we explored deeper the kind of fucked up thing that he did, and, dealing with making such a messed up decision and guilt and all that stuff, and dealing with aging and stuff, like, they could have just made it that his baseline was still okay, but he's deteriorating quickly.
Yes.
And, like, having to deal with that. Because right now, it's like, I don't know, it would have been more interesting to see him deal with his body shutting down rather than his body's already shut down and now he did, like, a dangerous thing to get it back.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I also wish that, like, the team was more, like,
Involved.
incorporated into it. Yeah, because that honestly would have made it better. Because I don't think the story's bad. It just, because the team is not involved with it. Like, Picard is barely involved. Like, that's why I didn't care that much about it.
Yeah.
Like, if they were integrated more into the plot, I would have liked this way more, because it's not a bad story. It feels misplaced.
It's a plot-heavy episode.
Yeah, I didn't think about it that way before, but you're totally right. Is that, like, yeah, even in the better episodes, even if it's characters, like, we only just met, who are, like, kind of the main, like, driving force, our steady gang is usually much more involved and integrated in what's going on.
Yeah. Or even if we met Mark as, like, an 85-year-old a few times and then have this happen, then I would have cared way more.
Yeah.
Even though he's an asshole, we would have seen him before, but it's just we're introduced to him, and then makes these choices that, like, I can't, like, sympathize with.
Yeah.
Because it's all, he's making all these choices to be just selfish. It's not for other people. He just constantly makes self-serving decisions.
Yeah, and it doesn't really, you're right, it doesn't really affect the Enterprise all that much.
Not at all. Yeah, because it's not like anything happens with the ship. It's not like anybody else's life is in danger.
Yeah, the Enterprise, like, this could have happened on any other ship. This could have happened with any other crew.
Yep, like, there's ways they could have made it better, but they didn't.
Yeah. It also suffers from some of the distinct disadvantages of episodic TV, which
Yes.
is that,
Yeah.
like, I have about 40 minutes to give a shit about this person, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, Star Trek has successfully done that many times.
Yes,
But I
for
think
sure.
the issue that we have in this episode is that instead of it being centered around a character that we already understand and giving us a new character to interact with through them, instead we have a new character mostly interacting with other characters that we don't know.
Yeah, you're totally right.
Yeah, so it's just like you guys said, this could have happened on any ship, because in the end, the crew that we know, their presence is inconsequential to what he ends up doing. Because he has authority to do it, and our crew isn't interacting with or changing any of it all that much. The only time that is more evident is when it's Picard that goes down with him during the away team thing at the end. Which Riker didn't even stand up against, which was a little weird, but okay.
Yeah, I was totally expecting Riker to put up an argument, because that's like a big thing,
Yeah.
is Riker doesn't let Picard go on away missions.
Oh, yeah. That was like in the first episode or something that they talked about that.
Yeah, they talk about it that in, like, the pilot episode.
Yeah. Riker was like, have fun.
Yeah. Maybe I'm giving too much weight to this episode, because by first season standards, it's fucking amazing.
Yes. But they haven't got to the point where they're focusing on characters yet. This is a plot-heavy episode.
Yeah, it's definitely a plot episode. I happened to enjoy this plot, I think.
Yeah,
is
that's
what,
fair.
Yeah, I still enjoy this episode, but, like, discussing it, it's... I definitely agree more with you, Dory, that, like, yeah, this episode has no consequences.
So, interesting little bit of backstory on this. Originally, this episode had quite a bit of Wesley in it. You can thank a piece of shit named Leonard Maislish for that. Leonard Maislish, I don't know if I've mentioned him to you guys before, he was Gene Roddenberry's lawyer, and Roddenberry, during this point in time, was not doing super well health-wise, and he had this lawyer in there to kind of, like, delegate a lot of things for him. And the lawyer had a lot of I don't know if he had, like, desires to, like, run the show himself or something like that, but he would constantly go into other writers' scripts and add things to them and then claim it was Gene who did it.
Oh.
And the thing is that he wasn't part of the Writers Guild, so they all had major problems with him doing this.
Yeah.
And in this particular episode, he added 2 or 3 Wesley scenes, and they found out that it was him who did it because while he claimed Roddenberry wrote it, Roddenberry was out of town, so he literally could not have done it. And yeah, they nailed his balls to the wall for it.
Wow, that's fucked up.
Yep.
Like, even besides the union issues, like, that just in general, that's pretty, like, messed up to do.
Yep.
I wouldn't want some fucking random lawyer changing my scripts.
Yeah.
Well, that's backstory on it.
What were the scenes?
Oh, they're long gone. Like, you can't find them at all. They were removed from it before the episode ever went to shooting.
But does anyone, like, know or has said, like, what they were?
No, they don't really remember. There was a lot of mess going on in the first season with regards to how many people were in the writers' room, how many problems they were having specifically with Leonard Maislish and with Gene Roddenberry, and what it came down to was that he was going in there and causing problems for them deliberately very often. They remembered that 2 scenes he had handwritten and added into this, but they don't remember what the scenes are. They're lost to time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm struggling to think of what Wesley could possibly be doing.
Yeah. I was thinking that too.
Maislish was a very big fan of Wesley. He wanted Wesley to be, like, the star of the show to an extent.
Oh.
Like, he wanted him in there, like, all the time.
That's weird.
And many of the scenes that he attempted to add over the course of the year that he was there were Wesley scenes.
Interesting.
He would also go into people's offices and start, like, rummaging through their stuff without telling them. Yeah.
I hate that.
Yeah, no. That's a big no.
Yeah, and this guy was a lawyer.
This guy's bad news bears.
That's okay. He died in 94. He's long gone.
No. Well, good, I guess.
Rip, I guess. Yeah, that's wild. I just want to say, like, the audacity of people.
Yeah.
They think that they can just do that. Like, that's not only is it not your job, but like you have no right to be inserting yourself into this situation.
No,
Yeah.
not one bit.
Especially when, like, as a lawyer, you would know there's fucking rules. And you would know there's, like, guilds and unions and shit. But, like, no. He's a lawyer. He's above the rules.
It's funny that that this whole episode is about a character who was breaking the rules because he wasn't interested in following them.
Yeah.
Because his personal pride was more important.
Oh.
Oh.
It's low-key about Leonard.
Themes.
On that note, this is, I believe, our first problematic admiral story.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might
Oh,
be.
no. There's a lot?
Oh, God, yes.
Ugh, who's hiring these admirals?
It's also a trope.
Yeah, it's definitely a trope in Star Trek that every admiral is, like, evil or an asshole.
Evil admiral.
Man, this is what happens when you give men power. No,
Yeah,
I'm joking.
exactly.
No, actually, I'm not joking. I'm not joking. Actually.
It's weird how... Because this doesn't feel like Picard to me. It's weird how he almost tries to let the Admiral off the hook a little bit.
Yeah, that is a weird choice.
He's like, I gave the dude the weapons he wanted, and I gave weapons to the other side. His logic being that it would, like, balance out. And then that led to, like, 40 years of civil war. And Picard's like, oh, it's not all on your head. Like, they decided to fight. And, like, while that is true, it's still weird to me that you're trying to comfort him.
I would actually argue that his entire approach in that was to try to de-escalate the situation as much as possible.
Okay, that he was just trying to make him feel better so that he wouldn't, like, take things too far.
Yeah.
Okay. I could see him doing that.
Also, Picard is very much playing, like, the to be fair devil's advocate at that point.
Yeah.
Because it's important to note that during that period, during that scene, rather, the Admiral has power in the room. The Admiral is technically Picard's boss and is technically in charge of the mission. Picard has to be as diplomatic about it as possible.
Yeah. I feel like he could have...
He definitely should have been way more offended.
Yeah, definitely should be offended. And I don't mean that he should, like, bitch him out or whatever, like, given the circumstances. But it could be, like, you know, he could have done a whole speech about how the best way for you to atone for this is not to, you know, risk more conflict and put people in danger and that kind of shit.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that.
I just didn't like, because at the end of the episode, too, and here's the thing, I don't think he's wrong, because he bitches the other guy out, being like, dude, you could have totally tried for peace way before. Like, it's you can't put all the blame on this dude, because, like, you asked for weapons. Like, you chose to use them. You, like, didn't try to negotiate. And that kind of thing. It just... Because, yeah, I don't think he's wrong, but the way it came off was more like just... feel bad for the Admiral and let him off the hook for this decision.
Yeah, that's a good point.
This also made me think about, like, if this guy did this fucked up thing 45 years ago, what else did he get away with? Because he suffered no consequences, because he was still held in high regard by the time they called back on him at the beginning of this episode. They're like, hey, we need you to negotiate this shit. And he still didn't suffer the consequences in this. Even though he died, he still got what he wanted. He got to be younger, got to lead the mission, and like, he was dying anyways. So, like, it wasn't even like he wasn't executed. He died from his own, like, his own hand, technically.
Yeah.
From this drug stuff. So, like, it just feels... He got away with it.
Yeah, you're right, because, like...
There's no consequences.
Yeah, like, what other... if that's the type of decisions he's making, like, what else has he done?
I would actually say that he didn't win in this, because he was clearly an extremely prideful man. Like, that is a very high point of his character. He's partially embarrassed by the fact that he did something wrong years ago, but he's more embarrassed about being found out by it, which is why he wants to get this done, what he says is the right way. In the end, he doesn't get the fruits of his pride. He gets, oh, you attempted to fast track something because you were too proud to do this. Well, now it's killed you. Oh, it's not you actually negotiating. It's not any of your hard work that's doing this. It's the fact that the guy who wants revenge on you is now just literally watching you suffer and die. So he didn't really win out of it.
I mean, I'm not saying he won, but he still got away with it. He never had to answer for his crimes.
That's a good point.
Like, he was, because Karnas didn't get him in the end. He died of his own shit. Mm-hmm. So the drug, he still got he died, so he didn't win, but he still got away with it. He didn't have to deal with any consequences of his actual crimes.
Right.
Sure,
right.
Maybe internally he had a little bit of guilt or something, but his logic of saying, like, oh, his interpretation of the Prime Directive makes me think that, like, what else did he misinterpret or say was an interpretation?
Yeah, very good point.
Due to other places, because, like, the planet that gave him the drugs, like, he negotiated a treaty for them, and then he requested these drugs on the side. So, and he's supposed to be working for the Federation, so he's profiting off of these negotiations on, like, the down low.
Yeah, he took advantage of his position.
And he was still able to, like, be held in such high regard up until now.
I think what they were going for was that he was kind of backed into a corner, and the only way out he saw was to give Karnas what he wanted. But in some kind of effort to mitigate it, he gave equal weapons to the other side. They didn't really pull that off, though.
Yeah, and here's another question. Did he go to, like, negotiation school? And in what world would a negotiation school or be like, yeah, you should do that? Also, if this guy was 85 when the episode started, and this happened 45 years ago, he would have still been, what, 40? So he's not like a young man. This isn't like, oh, he's 22 years old. No, he would have been 40 years old. How would he not realize that, like, he's starting a war?
Yeah.
How would he not realize that's bad?
And also his excuse of, like, I thought it would be like a small war at most. And it's like, it's still a war.
Yeah, that's a really bad justification.
Yeah.
Yo, like, you're responsible for war crimes, buddy.
Yeah, he's literally a war criminal. Like,
yeah. So, like, what do they teach you at negotiation school? Because obviously either Mark really loves interpretations that are wrong, or the school sucks. Because that's, like, a really weird way of, like, being, hey, you know what? Let's give weapons to, people who we think are I guess they think they're the good guys, but also, how about the bad guys too? Let's make it even. Like, that's not a thing.
Yeah.
Like, you're not trying to even up who wins good and evil. This isn't a movie. This is, like, I mean, obviously it's a TV show, but, like, if we're thinking, like, in real life-ish, like, you don't supply weapons to one side and, like, duke it at both sides and see what happens.
I do.
That's I mean, there are let's say there are countries that do that. Not to name names, but you know who you are. If you know, you know. But yeah, it's just crimes. Like, what? Yeah. Yeah, it just it's just like the logic is so stupid.
Yeah. Actually,
it's really not there.
Because this reminded me, I think they literally do that in an original series episode, though. They go...
War crimes?
Yeah. But okay, so one thing you have to know about original series is a lot of times they go to a planet and it's exactly like Earth, but, like, a different time period.
Yes.
So I might be remembering the episode wrong, but I remember a TOS episode that goes kind of like this. They end up on a planet that's basically like when the States was colonized, or not the States. the British and Europeans were colonizing North America. It was basically like, colonizers versus natives.
Like the 1700s?
Yeah, something like that. So, yeah, it's like colonizers versus natives on this planet. And they have guns, like rifles, and the natives don't. And the Enterprise ends up giving the natives rifles so that they can fight back to even the odds.
Okay, I think I know the episode that you're talking about, and it was you're missing a very important detail of it.
What's that?
The Klingons were giving weapons to the other side.
Oh.
So it ended up being a commentary on proxy war.
Right, yeah. I knew it was a commentary on, like, Vietnam or some shit.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
That's still not great.
Speaking of... no. But speaking of original series, Maggie, you probably wouldn't recognize him because he was in different makeup at the time, and it was, 20 years earlier. But the guy who played Karnas, you probably remember him from a very specific line, which he delivered in TOS, which was, "The Enterprise should be hauled away as garbage."
That was him?
Yep, same actor.
That's amazing. Oh, that's... Fuck, that's great. I didn't realize that was him. And actually, on that note, another question. Is the woman who played Annie, like, are we supposed to recognize her?
No, not as far as I know.
Like, did she play someone on TOS or something? Because the way they reveal her, like, looks like we should know her.
Not as far as I know. I can look it up quickly.
Sure. Excuse me.
Wow.
I'm sorry.
Definitely keeping that in the episode, aren't we?
Sorry, that one snuck up on me.
That actually scared me. Just because it got like quiet for a second, because Jeff was making a little like sing a little song while he was looking that up, and then it just wasn't expecting that.
I'm sorry, excuse me.
Marcia Hunt. Oh, she's still alive. Wow. She was born in 1917.
Oh, wow.
Damn,
Yeah.
girl. Damn. Good for her.
Yeah.
Look at her still trucking.
Wow, she's like 103.
Holy shit. Good for her.
You guys, she would have been around for the other pandemic.
Oh my god, yeah. I mean, she was like a baby, but yeah.
Yeah. Holy shit.
No, she hasn't done other Star Trek from the looks of things. She actually semi-retired in 1960. And she would kind of sporadically do something every 10 years or so.
Okay.
And Star Trek was one of those things. But she was a much more well-known actress in like the 40s and 50s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so I wonder if they did that reveal to be like, look at this famous lady.
That could be.
Yeah. Like maybe in the 80s she would have been, like, more people would have recognized who she was.
Especially older people who had grown up watching that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that makes sense. I thought she did really well. I was very impressed by her.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, she was great.
Yeah.
And she was totally right in, like I'm sure you thought that you were doing this for us, but, like, clearly you didn't. Clearly you did this for yourself.
Yeah, her reactions in general to, like, they gave her very good dialogue that I thought was very realistic for someone in her position to believe, and I thought that her character is what made Jameson more interesting for me, because I wanted to see her come out ahead. But I knew that that's not what was going to happen in the end, because I've seen the episode 100 times. Yeah. Fun fact, the original ending for it, when they were, the earlier one that I mentioned to you, Jameson was supposed to regress to someone who was about the age of 14, and all of his memories beyond the age of 14 would be gone, including that of his wife.
Interesting.
Oh, that's actually I find that sadder than him dying.
Yeah, me too. I kind of wish they had gone for that, but they probably just didn't want to get another actor.
Yeah. That kind of stuff always gets to me. Just, like, when people lose their memory like that, or, like, that's why, like, Alzheimer's and dementia are, like, the scariest things to me.
Yes.
That's like
Yeah, I
that's like a
agree.
real fear. It's like if I start to not remember stuff or lose who I am, like that's fucking terrifying.
Yeah, so this was this episode was a ride.
Yeah.
But you
Yeah.
know, at least we had good acting from all of the supporting characters.
Yeah, I thought it was relatively well acted.
Yeah, I actually thought that the guy who played Jameson, I thought that his acting was really on point, especially as the old man. It's just that the makeup didn't sell it at all, and that really sucked because him doing the I'm old and crotchety thing really worked for me.
I found the voice a little jarring. Like the old man voice was a little jarring.
Yeah,
That's fair.
his voice and some of his physicality was a little distracting to me.
Okay, fair enough.
But I did think he did like a pretty good job.
Yeah. It's too bad because like the character of like someone who's too prideful for his own good is definitely something that is cliche and has been overdone.
Yeah, and kind of like I also have a thing for like dealing with past guilt and that kind of thing. Like I find those stories very interesting.
Oh, that's fair. Okay.
And it's like how do you like I guess it's cuz I'm kind of like a little bit there's an element of that in my life wherein I had some really bad judgment and like was a piece of shit. And
Yeah.
it's like now I'm a much different person. But how do you navigate like the fact that like there's really nothing you can do to change it now,
Right.
you know? So that's why I find those stories interesting.
I mean, it is a very tough question, and it's too bad that you weren't given a character here who actually wanted to change what he had done because he regretted it, but more so he wanted to change what he had done because it's a stain on his reputation.
Yeah. Because if he really wanted to make up for this, he could have found ways to do it before.
As a Starfleet admiral, absolutely.
Because the only reason he's doing it now is because he realized Karnas was getting revenge. And now
Yeah.
he's like, it's coincidental. He's like, I'm not going to make the same mistake. But he didn't set out to do that.
No, not at all.
He's also he's covering his ass.
Yeah. Yeah, because he didn't fully admit to that before.
That's true.
Yeah, he left out a lot of things early on, and if he truly wanted to change or truly help, then he would have like been more honest and explained the whole situation. He only told Picard the true situation because like how was he going to accomplish his goal if he didn't at that point? So yeah, it's all very selfish.
I'd actually like to give the crew behind this a lot more credit than it's due because, like, Dory, I understand where your criticisms of the episode are, but as you stated, the episode isn't flat out bad.
No, it's not bad at all.
Which is great because it's an extremely dialogue heavy episode. It might even be the first really heavy dialogue heavy episode of the series at this point that is like entirely plot driven and driven by a couple of characters talking in a room. There's very little action until that like one firefight moment, and even that is very heavy dialogue driven. And I want to give them props for the cinematography because God, some of that beautiful lighting in those dark rooms was just mwah.
Yeah. It was a little like, it was really good lighting, but it was on the nose. The fact that like they were covering up like they wanted to hide his transformation.
Well, the thing is that it's diegetic. It's on purpose.
Yeah.
He wanted to hide his transformation from Karnak.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, yes, it's a little on the nose, but it comes from a character whose entire personality is a little on the nose, so it fits with him, I think.
Yeah, I can see that.
Anyone notice how slow the Dustbuster phasers were at cutting through that wall?
Yeah, I did notice that. I'm like, okay, you needed to fill like an extra few minutes here.
Yep.
You had like, you came up like 30 seconds short.
Can anyone tell me why, when they beam to the room that Karnak is in, why didn't they just tell him immediately? Like, there was this suspense moment where they're letting the Admiral, like, have his point of pride and whatnot, and it's like, wait, slow down. Just shut up and tell Karnak what's going on, because he doesn't believe you.
Yeah, they give him the info like piecemeal. And it's like,
Yeah.
why don't you just, like, immediately say what's going on?
Yeah. Yeah, like that would solve the problem almost immediately, and you can even show the proof immediately, and like you can diffuse this situation without having to do anything. But instead, for the sake of giving the Admiral his prideful suspense, you're not?
Yeah.
Like,
Although I do give Karnas, like, a lot of credit, like, more credit than most Star Trek characters, in that, like, he questioned this really ridiculous, unbelievable thing until, like, it was very definitively proven to him.
yes. Well, I don't know that particular proof that they did was completely definitive, but yes.
But
yes.
however, I think he questioned it as much as, like, a person in real life would.
Yeah.
You don't think that PowerPoint project made sense?
Look at our episode screenshots.
Look, we photographed him as he got younger at each stage. Isn't that great? Exactly for this moment, in case we had to convince you. Like, what thinking ahead? Picard, you're so on so on the ball.
I mean, you could argue that it was information that was taken from the cameras on the ship, because we know that those exist to an
Yes.
extent, because they
Yes.
keep showing us scenes from the episode within episodes. God, the future's a lot more like 1984 than I thought. Is the Federation just Big Brother?
I mean, maybe.
Oh my god.
So, anyone have any favorite moments of this dialogue-heavy episode?
Yes. I have one. And it's so utterly minor. And it's also because I misunderstood what was happening.
Great.
But it didn't make me not like this anymore. So, okay, I didn't really understand. I don't know if I just missed it or I wasn't paying attention. I don't know. But I missed where they were talking about the Iverson's disease, and I don't know if it's real or made up or whatever, but like, I didn't know anything about it. At one point, I think Dr. Crusher just says it affects the body, not the mind.
Yep.
So when Mark stood up in the bridge to like go to the con to take over, and he stood up and everybody was losing their mind. I was like, have you guys never seen 85-Year-Olds Walk? My grandmother is 91 and she's like kicking it. She walks like a champ. Well, as well as a 91-year-old champ can walk.
Part of the fact is that he had been in a wheelchair.
Yeah, he's been confined to a wheelchair for a good few years.
Yeah, I realized that later when I was like, oh, he's been in there for a while. That's why everybody was so shocked. But my favorite part was Riker.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember, he like jumps up,
Yeah.
and I was like, wow, that's an extreme reaction. I just thought him like jumping up was really funny. And that's my favorite part of the episode.
Yeah, I noticed that too, that Riker's reaction was like really dramatic.
Yeah.
Supposedly that chair, the wheelchair, was a $10,000 piece of equipment that kept malfunctioning on them.
Oh, jeez.
Oh.
Yeah,
that's a
so
bummer.
good job, guys. Good
Man.
job.
They couldn't just dust off the one from TOS.
No, it was because of how quickly it was moving.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I don't know if you noticed, but that was like a pristine level chair,
Yes.
supposedly.
Yeah, it was.
It looked good.
With really, really, like, ugly paint job on it, but, you know, whatever.
I mean, that was the era of beige electronics.
Yes,
Oh, God.
I'm aware.
I have one other part that I liked when they were at the ambush in the tunnels. Data like rolls.
Oh, yes, the data
And
roll.
I enjoyed that. I thought that was great. Just like a tiny, like just, it's so small, but I don't know. It just made me smile. And then like in terms of lines, I just have like one, but it's really not that great. I think it was just probably my favorite of the episode, but like it's not that. Anyways, so I think Riker asks like how when they got back from the ambush, how Mark is, and then Picard goes, "Not good is a galactic understatement." I was like, ooh, oh no.
It's a space understatement.
Yeah, not a particularly like heavy favorite part. Hot Mark.
Yeah.
That was, I guess, a highlight. Hot Mark.
That's a good point.
The reveal that he was actually really hot when he's younger.
I don't really have, I wouldn't say this episode has, like, any kind of standout moments.
Definitely not.
Yeah, I just thought it was,
Yeah.
like, a kind of solid episode all around.
Okay.
It was, like, I mean, it obviously has issues, but, like, in general, like, decently solid episode, and nothing was, like, a huge standout to me.
Okay. I think for anybody
fair.
that was watching this show as it was coming out, and maybe just kind of catching it from episode to episode once a week, none of them have had time to really get to know these characters very much because they haven't thought about it very much. So from that standpoint, I think it probably worked pretty well. But there were actually two moments in it for me that stood out because they weren't okay, no, one of them didn't fit. And I don't know why they did it, and that was the short comedy exchange during the middle of the dangerous firefight between Picard and Data.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't really understand why they did that, where Picard answers sarcastically that he, recognizes the sound of a phaser set to kill. Like, he's trying to help you, man. Like,
Yeah.
calm down.
Yeah.
But the other one that I thought was really cute, it was also a little moment of comedy where Jameson gets up from his chair for the very first time, but he's in his quarters with his wife and ends up moving to the other chair. And she's like exclaiming about, "Oh, you have a lot of strength today. That's amazing." And he's just like, "I feel like a kid again." And I just thought that was a really cute moment between the two of them.
Yeah, that was kind of adorable. I liked their chemistry together, personally.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Me too. I thought that the two of them were written very well together, but on top of that, they gave us enough moments of just the two of them to show that the two of them do have an actual, like, good foundation of a relationship. They care about one another, and I believed that, which is great. Too bad about the fact that he's a piece of shit, but you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. If I had cared about him, and if I hadn't thought he was, like, a piece of shit, like you said, I probably would have, like, teared up at his, like, last line, even though it was, like, very cheesy.
I teared up slightly for her, not for him.
Yeah, cause he's like,
It was their version of Stay Gold, Ponyboy. Stay Gold.
yeah, cause
Something
they're
about
like,
gold.
they have like a few, like a little short back and forth about, like,
Her golden hair.
yeah, her golden hair. Like, he's like Annie with the golden hair, and she's like, "Oh, you flatterer, it's gray now." And then he says, like, "I only see the gold," and then dies. Which I thought was really touching, except that it was him saying it.
Yeah.
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 That I didn't care, and he's a war criminal.
Yeah.
I guess on that note, we should get to predictions for the next episode.
Oh, I just remembered. I wasn't really right about this episode, but I did say there'd be a younger version of him. Mm-hmm. Of the Admiral. So I was like a tiny percentage correct. He doesn't meet a younger version of himself, but
He becomes a younger person.
yeah. So I was right that there was a younger version of him. So
Yeah.
tiny points for that.
I'll give it to you.
Yeah.
So the next episode is called When the Bow Breaks.
If there isn't a baby in this.
Well, your little tidbit is the Enterprise encounters a secret planet with a desire for the ship's children.
Oh, no. Oh, my God. Oh, no. Oh, God. This is actually really hard. Oh, God. Okay. So the planet wants the ship's children. Okay. I'm going to go real extreme here. Mm-hmm. Okay. So there's, like, a creature or god-like thing in the planet that needs children to run the planet. Like, maybe, or maybe, like, there's, like, a core and it needs to be run by children or something. Or maybe children are, I don't know. But children have to run the planet, so it's not like, oh, they need to have fun. It's like they need to work, or they need to be used to, like, sustain the planet. So it's nefarious. Oh, God, poor kids. Oh, God. This is probably very wrong. I really hope I'm wrong, because that would be freaking awful.
That would be freaking
Yeah.
cool.
Watch, this is the one time I'm right. No, I really hope I'm wrong. I'm not right very often. I think I've been right like maybe 2 or 3 times. But like
You'll get
little
better at
bits.
it as we go further in the
Yeah,
series.
you're
I
you're
think.
even like you're even starting to incorporate the tropes. Like you even
Yeah.
like I was very impressed that you're like some godlike thing.
Yep.
Well, because I was thinking, there's been a few episodes already where there's various versions of gods.
Yeah.
Don't you mean
planets, and
god
you have to like
things?
appease,
God things.
god things, whether it be a a jellyfish or a invisible that planet thing from the Justice episode, and I don't know. There's so many gods. It's so hard to keep track of them. But yeah, so because also I don't want to think about child sacrifice, so I don't want them to die. I feel
That's
like those
fair.
wouldn't be a thing. Die. Maybe they need the kids to like work to keep the planet alive or something. So child labor is apparently I'm more comfortable with child labor than child sacrifice.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not good with either, but I don't.
Beautiful.
This just doesn't seem like the kind of show that would kill children.
Well, we'll see. All right, so, well, we'll see if you're right on our next episode. And why don't you guys watch along with us? Come with us on the journey. We'll see you next time on Fully Functional, a TNG podcast.
Goodbye.